So, one of the things that has become a passion of mine is talking to people about their heart health. I think sometimes if I give examples to people, it would help for them to at least have an idea of what they're dealing with. Um, Heart disease is a dangerous disease, and it's a very preventable disease. Okay, hypertension is one of the top risk factors when it comes to heart attacks. Okay, so it's important to know. It's important for people to act. It's important for people to do something about it. So I'm going to tell you the story about my uncle. Okay, because I feel like we need to talk about everyday people because my uncle is not an anomaly. He thinks just like a lot of us think. Okay, he thinks like we think, or people who think that they don't need doctors or they don't need, and I'm specifically talking about people who think they don't need doctors, people who think that they can just do this by themselves. They think they have it all under control and there's no need to do anything. They believe prayer will work. They believe in the power of a higher power. They believe God. They believe all these things. But I'm telling you, the Bible tells me that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So there's something else more than just believing God. I mean, it would be like you thinking that you could fly, okay, and saying to yourself, I know I can fly, but gravity is still gravity. The only person that I know that walked on water is Jesus, and we're not him. So we're going to have to use some common sense, some education. We're going to have to learn about what to do, okay? My uncle, he was an intelligent man. He was a simple person. He wasn't a complex person. He was one of those people that said what was on his mind. He was an interesting guy. His name was Dan. I called him Uncle Dan, okay? Uncle Dan one day, and I was young. I think I was in my early 20s, probably about 22, 23. And we were having this conversation. At this time, I was in the military. I was very young, and I was a corpsman in the military. And I'm not going to say that I knew a lot about heart disease back then, because I didn't. I only knew what I studied or what I learned, and that was not something big in my mind to learn. Okay, I learned about emergency medicine and how to save people and how to put a tourniquet on and how to, if we were in war times, how to prioritize who needs to be saved first in a war situation. Okay. My uncle, we were sitting down, he was on the couch and we were looking at TV, which is something that my uncle loved to do. He liked to watch soap operas and game shows and listen to, at that time, he liked looking at Oprah way back when. Big Oprah, not small Oprah, okay? So this was way, way a long, long time ago. So as we were talking, he told me, he said, yeah, I got this new medication that I'm taking. He called it Garlique. I think Garlique, Garlique, okay? That's when it first came out, way back when. And he told me, he said, yeah, and he had hypertension. I didn't know he had hypertension. I didn't know, but it was kind of obvious now that I think about it. He stopped taking his hypertension medication. I don't know which one he was on. He never mentioned it. And he said that he's solely relying on the garlic. He said, oh, the garlic is working. I just take my garlic. He called it garlic. And it would just be, I'm going to be just fine. I'll take my garlic. And so, I was young in the military but even at that time when he was saying what his plan was, I was thinking that's the dumbest plan I've ever heard. I said, this plan is dumb. You're going to stop taking your prescribed blood pressure medication and only take garlic? Some infomercial he saw, he got this medication off of TV. It wasn't like at that time you could buy it in the store. At that time, it was like, I don't know, like a QVC or it was some type of thing where you could only buy it on TV. So he bought it and he said, oh my God, it's working. I'm feeling great. It's good. So then I went off. I got transferred to another duty station because, again, I was in the military. And when I came back a few years later, my uncle, they said, he went from having heart failure to having kidney failure to needing dialysis 3 times a week. He was end stage renal failure. He needed dialysis 3 times a week. He went from living in his home, being in his right mind, to being put in a nursing home. So they were doing dialysis in a nursing home. All the while they were doing dialysis, anytime they do dialysis, they put a lovely graft in your arm. They have to attach a vein and an artery together and make it plump so that they're able to have a access to stick you in order to put these big, huge needles in your arm. And they put you on a dialysis machine, for those that know, put you under ultrafiltration, and they let this machine work as a kidney, take out all your blood, let it run through the kidney and put it back in your body. Okay, but in order to do that, they have to have this what they call an AV graft, or they have to have a graft in your arm. Okay, when they have this graft, that's how they access getting in and out of your blood from your body. Okay, well, in the course of my uncle doing all of this, taking garlic, okay, or garlic, however you want to say it, he had about 4 grafts placed in his body. At each graft, each arm, and then both legs, it failed. His body would reject the grafts. So then they had to put in a central line. That's a line going into your jugular vein. They would put it in there, and that was the only way they could dialyze him. And this went on for a short period of time. My understanding, I never saw my uncle again after I was, transferred out to another duty station. I wasn't close. And when I came home, my uncle had passed away. And his wife, my aunt, was telling me, he went from, I never told her about the conversation I had with my uncle. But she told me how traumatic it was for him. How, he went from simply having hypertension to having heart failure to having kidney failure to being on dialysis to having 4 different grafts put in his arm so he could continue dialysis to dying. He literally died a horrible death between having the heart failure and constantly needing to have grafts and constantly needing to be dialyzed. All of this ultimately killed him. And so I say all that to say, don't be dumb. Let's not be stupid, okay? I keep talking to people every single day that are not taking this seriously. We got to take this seriously, guys. We got to. You got to know your numbers. Know what your blood pressure readings are. If you don't know, get you a blood pressure cuff. You can start anywhere. I know that the economy is not where it needs to be. I know prices are going up. I need you to get a blood pressure cuff. I need you to check your blood pressure before you take your blood pressure medicine. I need you to actually take your blood pressure medicine, okay? You can always say that the doctor, is the enemy. And the doctor, he doesn't know what he's doing. He certainly doesn't know what I'm going through. He doesn't know. He thinks he knows. He didn't go to school, medical school for 8 years to not know something, okay? If you don't like that particular doctor, go get you another doctor. There's plenty of these cardiologists out there. If you don't like that one, get another one. If you don't like his opinion, get a second opinion. Okay? This is your life we're talking about, right? So you need to do what you need to do to help your life. So I wanted to tell this story. My uncle is not here. My uncle died. He died in his 60s. If he was alive today, he would be in his 80s. But I still believe he died prematurely, because certainly it wasn't the will, of God for him to just die the way he died. God says in his word, above all else, I wish that your soul would prosper, I wish that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers and be in good health. What's the point of having a prosperous soul and not a prosperous body? Doesn't really make sense, okay? And if you don't want to use the scripture, just think about it. If you die at 42 because of heart disease, but you have plans until you're 80, did you really meet the goals? If you had made all these plans, you laid out your life plans, okay, at 20, you see yourself doing, you see your 5-year plan or you see your 10-year plan, and yet you don't achieve it simply because you have a heart attack and die. What have you accomplished? And again, I'm going to say, knowing that heart disease is a preventable disease. It's not like, and I understand, I'm not talking about people with congenital problems or problems from birth. I'm certainly not talking about people with some sort of genetic markers that predispose you to certain conditions. But what I am saying is the things that you can control them. You can control what you eat. You can control the lifestyle that you live. Nobody is making you smoke. Nobody is making you drink. I heard today, I was listening to the radio. I was listening to the Black Star Network. I don't know if this is colon cancer month or not, but I can tell you they said this. They said that the World Health Organization said, I don't know the year, I don't know if this was back in the 1990s or if this was something recent, but at some point, the World Health Organization called alcohol a poison, labeled it as a poison, because they said that people who drink are way more likely to end up with cancer than anybody else. They said that. Specifically colon cancer, breast cancer. They said people who drink. It's a toxin. They wanted to label alcohol a toxin because it is killing people by way of cancer. Think about it. The World Health Organization said that. That's interesting to me. Okay. And more so, the highest demographic. Now, I done gone on a tangent. I know I'm talking about colon cancer, but I'm still know where I am, okay? The highest demographic that is dying from this cancer is African Americans and indigenous. They're the second highest demographic. This is what they said on the radio today. Don't shoot the messenger. This is what they said. This is May 26, 2025, and that's what I heard on the radio. Okay, on the Black Star Network. Okay, so they said, so African Americans was the second largest demographic dying of that particular cancer, colon cancer, colorectal cancer, and indigenous people were the first. So us minorities or us people of color, we need to be very careful, okay? And they called, again, alcohol a poison. So if alcohol is poisoning the body by way of cancer, can you imagine? Because it's also a risk factor. I heard somebody say, oh, just a little bit of wine is good for the heart. Well, I don't know about that. I think you might want to do a little bit more research. And let me just say, please don't take my word for it. I don't want you to take my word. I'm just here giving you some nursing advice. I'm just here telling you I'm telling you stories because I'm hoping that my stories will one day reach somebody, and somebody, I don't care if one person changes their mind because of something I said, I've accomplished something. So I want you to be careful. I want you to think. I want you to be smart, okay? If you take care of your heart, it will take care of you, all right? All right, y'all have a good night. Bye.